Okay, so I just recorded a video, but it didn't upload, so I'm gonna try this again. So, my rant this time was on racism, and I just talked about a few examples, but I just. The first thing that we have to start with is white privilege, which white people are so privileged in this country, we don't even know. And I didn't even know until I was 19, and I'm 21 now, so I've only known for 2 years. Like, why didn't anyone tell me sooner? I wish I knew, but also because it's not their responsibility to know. It's not their responsibility to tell me. Okay, like we are human beings, and we are autonomous. We have free will. We have the internet. In this country, there's no excuse for ignorance in that regard anymore. There just isn't. I mean, my ignorance started to stop when I went to Indian Island in Old Town, Maine, and I went with 5 other students from my school, and 2 chaperones, and we were all women, and it was great. And we stayed with Sisters of Mercy there because they're a fantastic order of nuns that actually, does a lot for social justice. Don't mind me as I'm shifting. And one of the things they do is they go to places where people are in need. On a lot of the times, they're people of color. And one of the issues with racism is playing white savior. These people don't do that. Sisters of Mercy go and they say, "What do you need from us? What do you need? Do you need anything? What can we do to help you? Put us where we will be most needed." And sometimes it is as leader, but also a lot of the time it's very basic things. It's we need sanitation help, so they clean bathrooms and things. Like, these women will do anything that people need them to do. They're very humble, and they're not looking to be rewarded, which is another thing with racism. Like, we don't get cookies for doing what we're supposed to do, okay? Like, we gotta do what's right because it's the right thing. Because it's good in itself. Like, if you take philosophy at some point, you learn about, the greater good and what's good for everyone, or the most people. Like, how can you best help humanity? And one of the things that we as human beings have to be aware of is racism and racial tensions and the power you have when you're white is one thing that I really want to talk about, because I didn't even know about it till 2 years ago, and it makes me sad that I didn't know better. And I wish I could go back to when I was younger and I said a lot of stupid things because I didn't know better yet, because I wasn't educated about them. And I have all the excuses in the world, but they're not good excuses anymore. So anyway, I wish I could go back and change what I said and did. So I just want to put this video out there so people can learn, and so they can know better and they can not make the same mistakes that I made. Because I know that I hurt a lot of people, and that's not good. Like, I used to wonder why white people can't say the N-word if black people can. And I used to wonder, why people had an issue with white people dressing up like Pocahontas on Halloween. And I wondered, because I didn't know, and it confused me, and I wanted to know why, pulling your eyes up was offensive to Asian people. And I didn't even understand then that China, Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, all these places are totally different. Like, I thought they had very similar cultures when I was younger and a lot more ignorant, because American history books do not do a good job of educating us about foreign cultures. I thought they were very similar, and then I started to learn more, and they're not the same at all. And they obviously have similarities. Like, all cultures have similarities. Like, we all have some kind of religion, we all have some kind of warfare. Like, all these things are commonalities, and obviously there's going to be things that overlap, but they're totally different cultures, totally different people. And when you make fun of them, like, there's a meme on Tumblr, and it's like this Asian dad, and it's like, all these stupid Asian stereotypes that are really hurtful to Asian people, because then you have this expectation in your mind of how people of a certain race are supposed to be. And then they don't fit that stereotype, and you're disappointed. And that's not right. I mean, if I'm going to have a friend, I want to have that friend because they're my friend, not because they're my Asian friend, or my black friend, or my gay friend, or whatever the label is. Like, I don't want to just be someone's feminist Catholic friend. Like, no, I'm Kiki, know me who I am. You know, I have a friend who is a woman who is also black, who is also Muslim, but she's not my black Muslim friend. She's just my friend. And when I interact with her, I also have to be aware of differences, but also a lot of similarities. Like, for example, we both experience discrimination against women, so I can relate to her on that. But I don't know what it means to be Muslim in this country like she does. I'm Catholic. And even though I deal with people calling me all sorts of names and like telling me that I'm a horrible person just because I'm Catholic, that's not anything compared to what my friend experiences on a daily basis. Like, she's had people threaten her life just because she's Muslim, and that's not okay. And if you think that's okay, you might be a horrible person yourself, and like you might have to revisit that. I just know I don't want to call anyone a horrible person because I've done things that would make it okay for people to call me a horrible person. I used to think that you could have reverse racism and white people could suffer like people of color could. Now I know that that's not true. But I thought that way for a very long time, and I thought that when people called me a cracker, it was just as bad as if I called my friend, who's this black woman, if I called her the N-word, it was the same as if she called me a cracker. That's not true. That is so not true, and I'm glad that I never used that word against anyone, but like, even just questioning, you know, why can black people say that but not white people? You know, that, like, why are we even asking that? It's because white people used it to hurt black people, and black people are now reclaiming it. They're taking it back. They're saying this word is not going to hurt us anymore. And we have to respect that because we hurt them. We brought black people to this country to make them our slaves. Like, hello? Stop oppressing them. Stop telling black people they can't live in nice homes. And that still happens. That's why we still have a lot of ghetto issues. That's why black people in the ghetto are synonyms, because white people put black people in ghettos. Come on, guys. We know better. Or we should. And if we don't, hello, the internet is out there and it's a wonderful thing. Familiarize yourself with Google. It's your best friend. But don't believe everything you read out there. For example, if I'm talking about feminism and someone tells me they're an MRA and men's rights activists and they have all these websites, that doesn't mean their information's good. It means that they're completely wrong, and well, it doesn't mean that they're wrong, but they are completely wrong and that they just found someone who supports what they say. So you have to be really discerning when you get on the internet and you start looking at websites. And think about it. I mean, when we consciously examine our society and we reflect on what happens in our society, it doesn't make sense to say that men are oppressed, or that white people are oppressed, or that Protestants are oppressed. Now, I'm Catholic, so I know the differences very well between Protestants and Catholics, and we're like way over here. We used to be like this, now we're like this. So normally when people say Christian privilege in this country, it's Protestant privilege. We're not the same. Although by the same token, within the Christian group, because Catholics are Christians, so in some ways we do have Christian privilege. Like during Lent, I can go someplace and order a fish sandwich, but can a Jewish person go and get kosher food? I don't think so. So we still have some privileges, even though we're the bottom of the Christian totem pole. We still have Christian privilege above atheists, Jewish people, Muslim people, Buddhists, whatever, what have you, Zoroastrians. Do people even know what Zoroastrians are anymore? Like, do we have any like conscious awareness that they're still out there? Because I learned about them in history, but I never learned that they were still in existence. Like, I was just like, oh, they're an ancient religion, they're dead. No. One of my professors is Zoroastrian. I never knew that until this year. I thought that's pretty cool. Hey, you learn something new every day. So, but like when we look at America and we look at white people and we look at people of color, different groups have experienced different forms of discrimination differently. With Native American people, we put them in residential schools, strip them of their language, their culture, their heritage in general, their hair, their clothing, their parents. I went to Indian Island, and there was a whole generation that doesn't know their language. And now people either speak it or they write it. There is no both. That's our fault, guys. That's white people's fault. I'm addressing white people because I am white. I don't ever want to speak for people of color. I don't know what people of color face on a daily basis except for what I've learned from people. So if you have questions about how people experience racism in very specific contexts, your best bet is to go to a person of color because they're going to know so much better than I do because I have white privilege and that blinds me from a lot of things. Like, until recently, like, this also took me till recently to figure out, like, with the housing and black people in ghettos, how very racist that is, and with reservations, because most people will think, most white people, again, see, that's my white privilege showing. I assume that most people are white. Think about that. You have to examine every thought that you have. You have to. And I need to be better about that. I apologize very much. But most white people will, we will say things like, just move off the reservation. Why don't you just stop eating fry bread? Well, these things have become part of their culture now because they've been there for so long. And it's because we put them there. We put Native American people on reservations, gave them lard and bread, and then just said, eat this. This is all you have to eat, because they couldn't go hunting anymore because their land that they used to hunt on was not their reservation land. And it's almost like an internment camp. I think our United States government wanted these people just to die off so they wouldn't be a problem anymore. That's really shameful. It is. And we white people we need to experience white guilt more. It's good for us. It is. We need to be more aware. We need to know that we are at fault. And it's partially up to us to fix it. We have to stop being racist. That's what it comes down to. We have to stop judging people for being people of color. We have to stop fearing people of color. Equality isn't going to hurt us. I mean, with privilege, there are two options. One, we can make it so no one has these privileges anymore. Two, we can make it so everybody has the same privileges. So everyone is safe walking around at night, for example. Women aren't safe walking around at night. We have to make it so we are. We can make it, so people of color are safe. So people of color can get the same opportunities that white people have. I mean, why is it that at my college, which is the only Catholic college in Maine, we have predominantly white people, and the few people of color that we have are athletes. Interesting, isn't it? That we've put black people in the ghetto and told them the only way they can succeed is to play sports. And when we look at sports teams, we see a lot of black men, especially with basketball and football. Those are the two sports that we see a lot of black men. We don't see a lot of black men in golf. We don't see a lot of black men in volleyball. We don't see a lot of black men in baseball. Well, we see a few, but not very many. We see a lot of, Hispanic men in baseball. And we see a lot of, I don't know where we see Asian men. We see a few in basketball, but not very many. And that's because we assume that Asian, children aren't athletic. We assume that they're very intellectual. And that's where, positive stereotypes actually are really hurtful, too. Because we assume that Asian kids, and we lump, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Taiwanese, Filipino, all these different ways to be Asian, we lump them all into one big group. That's not good. They're very different cultures. They have different emphases, different things that they care about. But we lump them all into one category. Why is that? But when we do assume that they're all one group and we call them Asian, and we assume that Asian children are very smart and not very athletic, so we encourage them. It's weird. We breed our own stereotypes. We put them into higher level classes and expect more of them, intellectually, which is good, because then they're smarter, but, it's because we made them that way. It's not because they actually went with their actual abilities. And when, I fenced in high school, and there was a Chinese boy on my team, and he was a really good fencer, and people were shocked that he was athletic. Really? He's good, and he was also really smart. But he wasn't smart because he was Asian, and he wasn't good at sports despite being Asian. He was just, he had his strengths and weaknesses like anyone else has strengths and weaknesses, be you white or black or Asian or Native American or what have you. We have to stop assuming, and we have to examine our thoughts. So white privilege checklist. The first read through makes you angry. The second read through makes you think. So that's it.